Hi, everybody. I hope this Friday finds all of you safe and healthy. And we'll get started with the core practice. Find a comfortable spot to sit, close your eyes, and breathe deep, calming breaths. Nice job. All right, so today I'm grateful that I'm healthy. It's a good thing to be grateful for. So that is what I'm thinking about today, that I have gratitude that I am healthy. All right, so we're going to start this next chapter, which was called Ramona Saves the Day. I don't know if we're only going to read about half of this chapter because it's kind of long, and I don't know if we'll get to the part where she actually saves the day yet, but we can maybe make some predictions about what she actually does to save the day. The day of the wedding. The bridesmaids' dresses were too long. Pins, cried Aunt Bee. Get me some pins. Algie made kneeling on the floor too difficult for Mrs. Quimby. While Aunt Bee pinned up the hems, 2 for each because the dresses came with matching slips, the girls tried to stand very still. But how could they? The florist had delivered flowers that they couldn't wait to see. The girls fidgeted. Bees just basted up the hems, said Aunt Bee when she had pushed the last pin in place. They'll hold until after the wedding. She hurried off to press the wedding dress. With flushed cheeks, Beezus basted as fast as she could. Basting is a kind of sewing. Ramona did not trust her sister's stitches and reinforced her hem with Scotch tape. So here's Ramona. She doesn't trust Beezus' sewing, so she took some tape to tape up her dress. Everyone's hair had to be washed. Everyone had to take a shower. By Ramona's turn for a shower, all the hot water had been used. Why, oh why, did the youngest always have to be last? Mr. Quimby, who was taking the afternoon off from the market, was delayed. Would he ever come? But he did come, and Ramona was sure she heard him say a bad word when he turned on the shower. Where was Grandpa Day? Bob, weren't you supposed to pick up Dad? Mrs. Quimby called through the bathroom door. He said he wasn't ready and not to worry. He would get here on his own, answered Mr. Quimby between splutters. The family busied itself doing nothing, picking up wedding presents, putting them down, fussing with their hair, making sandwiches no one felt like eating. Time to dress. Aunt Bee disappeared into Ramona's room while the girls dressed in Beezus' room. Ramona pulled on white socks while Beezus tugged at pantyhose. Pink slips slid over their heads, then the dresses, the prettiest they had ever owned. They shoved their feet into their best white slippers, Beezus brushing her shining hair and Ramona's too. Feeling like princesses, the girls went to show off to their mother, who said they looked lovely. Except for Algie, the girls had never seen their mother look so beautiful. She was wearing a soft, airy dress borrowed from a neighbor who had already had a baby. That dress had been passed around among the women of Clackatat Street for several years. A neighborhood needs only one dress-up maternity dress, explained Mrs. Quimby. And then Aunt Bee appeared in her sister's wedding dress and veil. Oh, Aunt Bee, sighed Beezus, you're beautiful. Ramona was too stunned to speak. Mrs. Quimby kissed her sister and said, I hope this dress will be as lucky for you as it has been for me. Ramona began to have an uneasy feeling that she had outgrown her white slippers, which she had not worn for at least a year. She would have died rather than complain. Where on earth is Dad? The anxious bride wanted to know. I don't want to keep Hobart waiting at the church. Yes, where was Grandpa Day? Everyone worried. Everyone fussed. His motel was called. No, his room did not answer. More worrying until Ramona, posted at the window, screamed, Look! There was Grandpa Day, arriving in a long black limousine driven by a real chauffeur, wearing a real chauffeur's cap, just like chauffeurs on TV. Why, Dad, cried Aunt Bee, you didn't have to rent. Say no more, said Grandpa Day. I want to give my youngest daughter away in style. Wow! Exclaimed Ramona, forgetting her shoes. And we get to ride in it. Wait till Aunt Bee's third, now fourth graders saw this. Ooh, there it is. Fancy limousine. Mrs. Quimby lifted wreaths of pink roses from the florist's box. anchored them firmly to her daughter's hair with bobby pins before she handed them their nosegays. Both girls inhaled the fragrance of their flowers. Aunt Bee lifted out her bouquet of white blossoms. "Come along," ordered Grandpa Day. "The groom might get tired of waiting and leave." The family climbed into the limousine, Mr. Quimby sitting with the chauffeur, and Beezus and Ramona sitting on fold-down seats facing the bride, their mother, and their grandfather. Under her long dress, Ramona slipped her feet out of her pinching slippers so she could enjoy every second of the ride. "Now remember, girls," said Mrs. Quimby, "after you take your places at the front of the church, stand still." As the limousine glided up to the church, Aunt Bee's class, arriving in carpools, was properly awed. They climbed quietly out of their ordinary cars and walked in pairs into the church. Most of the boys were wearing stiff new jeans and clean shirts. A couple wore suits. The girls were dressed in their best. Ramona could see that many heads of hair had been washed in Portland that morning, and that Aunt Bee had instructed her class in wedding behavior. Then she discovered she had to squeeze hard to get her feet back into her shoes. The wedding party entered a small room behind the church reception room where all the Kemps, except Uncle Hobart and Howie's father, who was the best man, were waiting. Ramona was surprised to see how pretty Willa Jean looked with the wreath of roses resting on her fair curls. Howie leaned against the wall in his short pants and knee socks. Except for his grumpy expression, Ramona thought he actually looked handsome. She thought he was handsome until he began to sing very softly. "Here comes the bride, fair, fat, and white. Here comes the groom, skinny as a broom. Here comes the usher, the old toilet flusher." "Howie, you be quiet," ordered Ramona with all the ferocity she could summon in a whisper. What if the bride heard? The bride did hear and laughed. She knew what to expect from boys Howie's age. There he is, looking miserable, and Ramona telling him to be quiet. Mrs. Kemp handed her grandson a small lace pillow with a wedding ring fastened in place with basting stitches. "It'll probably fall off," he predicted. "No, it won't," said his grandmother. "I've made sure of that." "Beezus, my feet are killing me," whispered Ramona with tears in her eyes. "My shoes are way too short." "So are mine," agreed Beezus. "I'll never make it down the aisle." Grandmother Kemp was lining up the wedding party in the order in which they were to enter the church. "Once you reach your place at the front of the church, don't move," she ordered. "Quick," whispered Beezus to Ramona. "Give me your shoes." Astonished, Ramona obeyed. As the wedding party proceeded through the reception room to the vestibule of the church, Beezus dropped the 2 pairs of slippers into a large bouquet of rhododendron blossoms. When the organ burst forth with the processional, the girls stifled their giggles. They're not wearing any shoes. Uncle Hobart's friends, the bearded ushers splendid in their rented clothes, grinned at the girls, and after escorting Howie's mother and grandmother and Mrs. Quimby to the front pew, returned to walk slowly down the aisle together. We're going to stop there, and we'll find out on Monday what happens during the wedding. I think there might be some excitement. I don't know. Maybe you can make some predictions. What do you think is going to happen? All right. Well, I hope you guys have a really good weekend, and I'll come back here on Monday.